Even though Blizzard is constantly trying to destroy World of Warcraft and, well, frankly, all other IPs that they own, they are still the king, at least when it comes to MMORPGs. Only Blizzard, at the end of the day, truly can kill Blizzard when it comes to this. But there are other contenders that are slowly cropping up and taking a little bit more of that dwindling player base. And Wildgate, which sounds crazily similar to Wildstar, and has art that's crazily similar to Wildstar, which is really bad because Wildstar was really not a great game. It had some unique things about it, but it was not really a great game at the end of the day. The fact that it died in a year probably kind of proves me right, by the way, so don't try to argue about that one.
Alright, so a bit of a late one, but it would be a shame for me to miss out on talking about this game given how much fun I had with it. A little while ago, I spent about a day with the closed beta of Wildgate, the sci-fi ship-based PvPvE game from Moonshot Games. This is a new studio made up of a ton of former Blizzard developers, and they're also being published under Dream.
Oh god, there we go again. Another studio made by ex-Blizzard employees. Blizzard has thousands of employees. I mean, every studio that crops up probably is made of Blizzard employees at this point in America.
Haven, a publishing label spun up by Mike Morhaime, who was one of the founding fathers of Blizzard. I bring that up because I think it explains a lot about why I was so impressed with what I saw of Wildgate. Say what you will about Blizzard, and certainly there's a lot to say, but I think one thing that many of us can agree on is that their games generally have three core qualities. They have great art direction, they're polished, and they've got a very tight gameplay loop. After some hands-on time with it, it's clear to me.
Okay, currently, wow, I'm seeing a lot. This does look like Wildstar, though. This definitely has Wildstar vibes. Also, you can see the things here. They are also kind of like anthropomorphic. But I'm not gonna lie, Wildstar had a hot non-humanoids. Not gonna lie, boys. Okay, it is what it is. Don't judge me. Or do. I mean, it's your choice. I'm just the voice of the computer that you don't even know if I'm real. In any case, dude, whenever any game does ship combat, I think that's already dead in the water. Now that's admittedly this is first impressions. Maybe this is good, maybe who knows, but typically games that do ship combat kind of fail really hard. The only success story that we truly have is kind of Sea of Thieves. That's it. Other than that, it doesn't work. And Sea of Thieves is, by the way, a literal sea with pirates and ships and, things like that. And, that's the only thing that has succeeded. Everything in space, by the way, has not succeeded. There has never been even anything remotely close to success on this type of game. So this is an uphill battle. Hopefully they can make it because this would be kind of awesome. Especially if you have some kind of go off and explore type of things. That would be cool.
Me that much of that Blizzard DNA is present here in Wildgate. Its presentation, its combat, the overall gameplay loop of looting, building up your ship, then fighting other ships with not a dull moment in between, it's all very strong and very cohesive. They have basically taken the best parts of Sea of Thieves and then added some depth to it with a physics-driven sandbox, solid gunplay, unique character classes, and then condensed that whole experience into these action-packed 15 to 20 minute matches. And that's a very Blizzard-like way of doing things, I think. To take something that works, refine the formula, and then give it that extra zhuzh. Moonshot Games know exactly what kind of game they want Wildgate to be, how they want matches to play out, and have executed on that vision exceedingly well. I mean, I'll just say it, the 8 or so hours I spent with this was genuinely some of the most fun I've had.
Okay, this definitely looks interesting. I mean, yeah, currently I'm not exactly sold, but it does look interesting.
In a PvP game, and I was playing solo. Similar to how I felt about Helldivers 2, that fun factor is also just immediately apparent from the moment you load into your first match. You don't have to go digging for it or play tens of hours before you can finally understand the appeal. But this isn't just a well-constructed PvP game. More than anything, it feels fresh. Like, actually genuinely fresh. I think Void Crew and the upcoming Jump Ship.
You know what I don't like about this? The graphics are stylized, but the characters are. Uh, I don't like the cartoonish looking character feel, okay? That's one thing I don't like in games.
The closest comparisons I can think of, but notably, they don't have PvP, which offers a fundamentally different kind of experience. Wildgate might be best described then as Sea of Thieves in space, but I think that too is oversimplifying things. It draws inspiration.
Admittedly, that's really good, though. You want Sea of Thieves in space. Sea of Thieves is a popular and good game.
From a number of other games and genres, culminating in something that doesn't quite fall into any existing bucket. Who knows what the future holds for this thing, but what I can say is that Moonshot Games have made a hell of a first impression here with a game that feels uniquely its own, remarkably polished, and an absolute blast to play.
Does the combat seem a little bit slow, maybe? Like, for example, yet what are we thinking? Yeah, this. Look at the reload. It takes like 5.5 years to reload. I don't know. I like methodical things, but I like methodical things when it's, actually some kind of World of Warcraft or Lost Ark type situation. Or maybe even Dark Souls. But not in shooters. I don't. Shooters that are spongy are bad. I don't know if I like this reloaded movement speed. I mean, again, currently everything looks kind of fine, but kind of not cooked enough to a degree. But I am liking what I'm seeing so far. I am being a slightly critical, I guess, here, but I am kind of liking it. But there are things that stand out to me personally that I do not appreciate typically. Also, some of the space combat looks better than other.
Before I spend the next little while glazing this game, let me just give you the rundown of what this is. So this is a match-based PvPvE game where 5 teams of 4 players load into a large procedurally generated map. To win, you either need to be the last crew standing or find a little MacGuffin known as the Artifact and escape with it through a portal known as the Wildgate. Literally the name of the game. The thing is, the Wildgate doesn't actually appear until later in the match, so in the meantime, you're going to be cruising around looking for the artifact or for points of interest to plunder, all with the persistent threat of other ships doing the same thing. Basically, I would picture...
Okay, I have a question. So, you find clearly a rock that you can go into because, I mean, that's a rock pussy right there, boys, let's be real. You go in there because men, and your ship gets blown up in space while you're AFKing. That sounds like a rage quit uninstall, I'm not gonna lie.
A condensed match-based version of Sea of Thieves, but in space, and you're most of the way there. It has that chaotic maintenance element where you need to be on top.
I think one of the biggest reasons why Sea of Thieves actually is popular is the fact that it's a living, breathing world in the sense that players are there. You can just suddenly find someone. You can suddenly find them doing things on an island. There's so many things. It's like, it's not static. Things just happen. Stories write themselves. That's what I think Sea of Thieves was popular. It still is, right? I'm not sure if it's popular now. But that was one of the greatest aspects of Sea of Thieves. Just random stuff happening because it's just cool to happen. Here you're thrown into a 4v4 format and you're supposed to just go like fucking fight each other. There's questions about that.
Of manually addressing fires and broken windows to keep the ship intact. It has a similar gameplay structure too, in the sense that you're always looking out for the next location to explore, often having to deal with AI enemies to get to your loot, and some of those enemies are no slouch. But instead of being rewarded with treasure to sell for pieces of 8, here you're nabbing immediate tangible upgrades for the ship. This includes various cannon types, from long-range lasers to shotgun blasts to slow-moving bombs. You can arrange them how you please too. So for example, if there's an enemy ship approaching from behind and they're quite far out, you might put the railguns at the back, but as they get closer, you might decide to swap them for your shotgun cannons. There are also modules that you can manually install on the ship for faster turn speed, higher shield capacity, to automatically close and lock doors, or to give your ship a giant chainsaw lightsaber thing to grind up enemy ships when ramming into them.
Okay.
Then there's also other fun stuff that you yourself can use, like thrusters that you can attach to any point of an enemy ship to push them off course, or a handheld tractor beam to pull them in. That's one of my favorite things about this game, actually. The fact that basically everything here is physics-based.
I mean, that really look cool, these options, but it's like 4v4, well, 4v4v4v4. It's 2 times 4v4, or am I tweaking? Or is it 4v4? I don't know. But anyway, I mean, it's a cool concept, but again, it feels like there's so much that could just go wrong here.
This has cool
but it definitely does seem to have like a lot of appeal. For example, almost like, you know, what's the battle arena that Blizzard came out? Hero Storm plundering something? Checking messages, it's fine. No, there are things that this looks like, and it could. I mean, this could be a huge hit or an absolute loss. It kind of depends. I think this is going to be one or the other. People are going to be like, wow, and people are going to be like, eh. So, you know, not a lot of options there, I feel.
Traversal implications, like with this grapple hook that you can use to throw yourself, or this sick turbine thing that builds momentum as you hold the trigger. But it also forces you to be really conscious about space. There's no storage area that your equipment gets slotted into. You just have to drop them somewhere on the ship and remember the spot. When outside the ship, this can lead to some funny situations, like this one, where I was trying to sneak this bomb onto an enemy ship, but I had to drop the bomb to shoot people, and then the bomb would like float away, so I had to keep quickly grabbing it. The fact that all of this holds together and you can just seamlessly move from your ship into zero gravity and it just works no matter what is going on, that is really impressive and lends to that sense of polish I spoke about in the intro. As does the presentation. Now, I know this kind of stylized look isn't everyone's cup of tea, but you can't deny that this game has that sort of premium look akin to Blizzard's games. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. It looks like
Overwatch. Yeah, that's not good.
Overwatch. The bold.
I literally talked yesterday how Overwatch is probably, honestly, stylistically the worst game. Because it really is. Overwatch's style is just so bland and mediocre. They technically have all of the things that make it stand out, pop, and feel special, but it all feels hollow. And I think this is a lot to do with, you know, this kind of art style, this kind of wild style-esque type of thing, because it looks like a cartoon, and the cartoon, I think, really stands out typically. So, I don't know. I don't think that's good. I don't think looking like Overwatch is a good thing in general. I think that's really bad for most games. I mean, the reason why people don't give a shit about Overwatch skins, unlike other games where people love buying skins, is because, well, the skins look shit. It's like a skin can have a completely different color palette, a completely different aesthetic to it, and it still kind of just looks the same old slop. Overwatch is just not good when it comes to this crap.
Old silhouettes of characters and weapons, the vivid, colorful textures that still have a lot of scuff to them, the lighting. Like if Blizzard were to make a spacey sci-fi game, this is almost exactly what I imagined it'd look like. And me personally, I'm really into it. I guess many are also going to draw that Overwatch comparison because of the heroes. I wouldn't classify Wildgate as a hero shooter though, at least not in the traditional sense. Heroes in typical—
Is the only woman that we can play as black? 10 out of 10.
At least not in the traditional sense. Heroes in typical hero shooters tend to heavily define your moment-to-moment gameplay, whereas here they don't. They have zero active abilities and aren't tied to specific weapons or equipment. What they do offer are passive abilities that kind of make them more effective at certain roles, not the tank, support, or healer roles, mind you, but roles specific to the Wildgate game loop. So for example, this dude can see enemies through walls, but only those on his own ship, making him a good pick for those who want to stay on the ship and play defense. Another can use his melee to smash enemy ship parts, making him a great character for boarding enemy ships, since you can pull off stuff like this. This robot dude is just a nice convenience character. He doesn't need oxygen to breathe, and while you typically have to replenish your ammo and equipment using these recharge stations, he just automatically does this every time he warps back to the ship. All that is to say that, yeah, while there's certainly some subtle hero shooter elements here in terms of its character roster and overall aesthetic, you shouldn't write off Wildgate purely on the basis that you don't like hero shooters, because it's really not that. Similarly, I've seen others looking at the PvPvE tag and getting the impression that this is some sort of extraction game. I think it's easy to make that mistake given the prevalence of that genre right now, but again, that's not how I'd characterize Wildgate. The only thing that you are extracting is that artifact to win the match, but no loot comes with you. The progression model is based entirely around earning XP from matches to permanently unlock gear for your loadouts. That gear includes deployable equipment like grenades, one-way shields, attack drones, and more. Then there's the weapons, and there's your standard offerings here like auto rifles and semi-auto pistols. There's also more flavorful ones like this Mercy-style beam thing that can be used to either heal or deal damage, or this double-barrel napalm explosive shotgun that leaves fire on impact. They all look awesome and feel great to use. In fact, the gunplay is surprisingly decent here. Feels very Overwatch. I think the main criticism I have here is that the time to kill in this version of the game was way too low. When the basic auto rifle can take out players within a second...
Oh wait, that actually...
there really isn't a lot of room for the other interesting weapons to shine. I'm just not sure.
I guess that's reasonable, but everything kind of looked slow. At the start, when he was using the Super Blaster Melter Cannon, it looked kind of slow.
That like CSGO style time to kill makes sense in a game like this, and it makes it very easy for players to spawn kill since they respawn on the ship and the ships aren't that big. Would like to see some tuning here to let the identity of each of the weapons come through and to allow for a bit more counterplay. The ship battles in this game, though, are perfect. I mean, they are absolutely electrifying. Just so much going on between trying to maneuver the ship, which moves like a semi-truck, to manning the cannons for some damage, to putting out fires and repairing damaged parts, to fending off enemies trying to board and overload your reactor. And these battles can go on for a really long time if both teams are on top of things. Sometimes you'd find yourself in a bit of a stalemate where each team is both dealing damage and healing the ship at roughly the same rate. And those are the moments where the game is kind of nudging you to take risks, to do something a little more out of the box to tip the scales. Things get especially tense in the final...
Oh, actually... Yeah, so it's a 4v4, not a 4v4, but that would be insane and fun. So... yeah, it does seem like it would be interesting if the fights between the ships lasted long, but I mean, who knows at this point? Again, this seems like very hit or miss, nothing in between.
Moments of a match. Because while this isn't an extraction game, I do think, intentionally or not, Moonshot Studios have captured one of the best parts of that genre, and that's the rush you get when you've got the thing and now you've got to make your way to the escape point with all the other teams on your tail. Ship battles can
other teams, so it is a 4v4v4. I wasn't tweaking this time. Anyway, you have the 4v4. I mean, with a 4v4, someone's gonna get fucked, and there's so much potential for fun, but so much potential for failure here. It's insane. It's insane. This could easily be the best game ever or the worst game ever.
Occur at any point throughout a match, but as soon as someone picks up the artifact, the entire map is alerted to their position and it's game on. I only had one win during my time with the closed beta, but what an absolute thrill it was. Let me tell you how it went down. So one match, me and my crew managed to quietly find the artifact in the middle of this cosmic storm thing, which ships can only enter if they have a certain module, otherwise they take constant damage. So we enter this dungeon style thing, which we thankfully have the key for. We pick up the artifact, but to actually get it out of there, we're going to have to push our way through. This involved clearing a few rooms of enemies, then holding some points while taking out a couple bosses. To be honest, this kicked our ass.
Yeah, I mean, you go into this and, well, your ship just gets blown up by someone.
Died a few times, but eventually we got there. So we finally load up the ship with the artifact and all our gear, and as we make our way out of the storm, I go up in a probe to scout ahead and see if the way to the Wildgate is clear. Lo and behold, absolutely not. There are a couple of enemy ships who are camping out near the gate, but they haven't quite spotted us yet as they're preoccupied fighting each other. So our plan? Go beneath them. And that's when I man the controls, go full throttle, shields down to increase our speed, and gun it for the finish line. I hide our approach as best as I can by flying beneath some large asteroids, but one of the ships takes out the other just as we're coming up to the gate. My crew then mans the cannons to lay down some cover fire as I keep the ship steady, shields go up as we get closer, with fires going on all over the place, enemies attempting to board, oxygen running out, the ship just about to fall apart. We scrape past the enemy ship and into the Wildgate, earning ourselves the win.
Okay, this is also technically kind of a problem that you can just, go into the thing and that's it. I mean, yeah, you become a target if you pick up the thingamajiggy, but oh no!
That is the Wildgate experience in a nutshell. Methodical exploration to build up your arsenal, followed by frantic, butt-clenching battles and narrow escapes. Like I said in the intro, even in this closed beta state, I think Moonshot Games have really nailed down every part of the game loop. During the downtime, there's always stuff to do.
Well, I mean, we will see. This is gonna be wild, okay? I get it, wild like Wildgate anyway. I'll show myself out. That was Skill Up 10 out of 10. Bye.